Thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and how it relates to story and media and fundraising and all that fun stuff.
Okay, yeah. Agents of Good is a firm. My business partner Jen and I have been in the sector for about 25 years, and we launched Agents of Good back in 2009. And so we work with charities through North America and around the world on their storytelling, on creativity, on strategic individual giving programs. We do a lot of coaching these days, but really, the heart of Agents of Good really is about collaboration between ourselves and also our clients, but also using creativity to express donor storytelling, because donors definitely deserve more than they're getting from charities in the context of storytelling. So I think a lot of people know us for our creativity and the way we tell stories. So that's kind of our main jam.
Yeah, how can visual design make nonprofit stories more impactful?
Well, I mean, we are more of a visual society than we realize. There are a lot more visual learners than I think we realize. You have to go to a conference like this and see a session and know that a lot of people don't understand how many of us learn visually. And so, in a certain sense, if your donor's going to her mailbox and she's pulling out 50 pieces of mail that she got that day, how do you make sure she looks at yours first? You have 2 to 3 seconds while she flips through that stack. No, what's this? So what have you done to make sure she stops to look at yours first? So we call it like doormat dominance. How can you dominate her mailbox so she can't help herself but look at yours first? So that's visual storytelling. So the moment she looks at an envelope, whatever she sees, that's a type of storytelling. So I love that all the way through a whole pack, we have an opportunity to visually express lots of different types of things. And so the more you know about those sorts of things, the more successful you can make your pieces.
Yeah, on that, what are some of the key design principles nonprofits should consider when crafting materials?
Well, I mean, I look to organizations like the CNIB here in Canada, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind and Visually Impaired. There are organizations like this all over the place. You have to acknowledge that most people over the age of 45 have these things on their faces. We all have some level of visual impairment. So a lot of people, they want to talk about branding and how charities have to adhere to their brand style guides and stuff. And the people who are designing these things wouldn't know a donor from anybody else. Do you know what I mean? So we make sure that we're making sure pieces are visually, you can read them. I looked at a letter earlier today at my booth that someone showed me that their team put together, and it had background visuals. It had type that was very, very tiny. There were so many things wrong with this. And again, even from a visual point of view, anyone with any kind of visual impairment, they wouldn't be able to read it. They wouldn't be able to see it. Do you know what I mean? And we have to acknowledge who it is that we're talking to in our work and design things that are for them. So CNIB, they have great principles that are useful in terms of like not using shiny glossy paper. Some donors can't see that stuff, like don't use very scripty kind of fonts. People, again, with visual impairments can't read that sort of thing. So I acknowledge, even in our writing, we always suggest you write at a grade 4 to 6 level. Your letter should have a reading ease of 80%. Your letter should sound very conversational. This is very effective fundraising writing, and most people have a lot of difficulty writing like that and making the messages sound like that. So it's not just about visual impairment, it's actually about how humans make decisions. And the more you understand those things, then the more effective your stuff will be.
Yeah, do you have any case studies or stories of how design elevated an organization's storytelling?
Well, really good example for anyone who's seen me present or read my book, Creative Deviations. I've got a bunch of different examples, which are kind of on the big range of extremes. There are some extreme things we've done. We did one for a food bank here in Ontario. And up until that point, their fundraising was we're a food bank, we're feeding your neighbors, help, donate to us. Fine, donors will give to that all day long. But we really wanted to sort of, again, elevate it, move it to the next level. And so one of the things we usually suggest is, if your letters usually come from your ED, maybe there's another perspective you can use. So we're always changing or considering changing voices and perspectives on storytelling, because all of a sudden that story that you've been telling 1,000 times seems instantly more interesting because it's from a different perspective. So in this case, we created a bag, a talking bag called Fill, because that's what we wanted donors to do, which was fill the bag, right? And so I know it's obvious, but the good creative actually tends to be pretty obvious. And so Fill the bag started to use his voice in the appeals. So the appeals instantly started to go up. Marketing comms hated it. The ED hated it. We had to bribe some people to get them to do this because they really felt it wasn't professional enough. I'm here to raise money. Whatever professional means to somebody, I don't really care that much about. And so we used Phil for a holiday Halloween where there was no fundraising planned, but we used them online. They raised a ton of money online by letting Phil use his voice and getting people to dress up for Halloween. And so we used him for some time, and the organization raised a ton more money. They still tried to kill off Phil, but he's a walking, talking mascot around Waterloo, Ontario. And if you live there, you've probably seen Phil at hockey games and that sort of thing. The community loves him because he's an interesting, normal, fun, quirky, cheesy voice that makes giving fun. And creativity at the end of the day is about having fun. We were born creatives. We would build stuff and knock it down. We would color outside the lines. We had joy in the discovery and of creativity of being a child, and the world tries to take that away from us. I'm asking people to kind of come back to that creativity, that funness, that like playing with voices, doing things that will help you be more connected to your work because it's joyful. Giving can be joyful, and I believe we try to do that in our work all the time.
That's great. What's a takeaway when it comes to storytelling, design, the intersection of the two in fundraising that you want to leave people with?
The thing I keep coming back to over and over again is that the more human you can appear in your fundraising, the better it's going to be. So it's not about design. Like when I do graphic design, I actually don't want it to look like I had anything to do with it, because I know the more it doesn't look like I had anything to do with it, the more money it's going to raise. And so I've had to teach and train designers to stop designing. So read the letter first, and then think about how can I make this look like something that you sat down and sent to me. And the more you can do that, from the way it sounds, from the way it looks, the more money it's going to raise. So that is a type of creativity that's very, very difficult, just like having a talking bag. And there's room for all of these things in great storytelling. Storytelling is not just about one thing. Storytelling is about all the different stories, the highs, the lows, the emotional journeys, the ups, and all the things, you know what I mean? And so there's space for all these different types of creativity in this work. But if one person was going to watch this and walk away, again, I don't worry about your brand. Yes, there is something in that, but more importantly, donors want to have relationships with other human beings who believe or trying to do the same thing they are, which is trying to help this mission succeed. And the more we can just drop all the professionalism and all the pretenses of how to do this stuff and actually just be a normal human talking to other normal humans who are trying to help, you will raise a lot more money. I've seen it for 25 years. So that's it. That's my story.
Well, thanks for joining us over at the Rustic Roots booth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, take it easy.